Doodlebud here. Today we're looking at this absolutely gorgeous Italian pen, this Pineider Avatar UR demo. UR stands for ultra resin, and you might be wondering, Doodlebud, why are you showing us your hammer? Because ultra resin, they claim this stuff is ultra tough, super strong. So strong, in fact, that Dante del Vecchio from Pineider was sitting down with Brian Goulet on Goulet Pens. Check out the video. I'll put a link in the description. He put the whole pen together. Then he whipped out his little hammer and started hitting the pen, showing you can't break this thing. So I'm not going to be hitting the pen with my hammer, but I am going to be doing some drop tests because I feel that's more of a realistic thing. How terrible is it? You get your brand new pen, it falls out of your shirt pocket, out of your binder, your book, whatever it is, it slips and whack, it lands on the ground and oh no, you broke your pen. So we're going to do some actual testing. I'm going to drop test this thing to see if it will survive. But before I start chucking this pen around and, who knows, potentially break it, I better do the review because I want to do the review in one piece. I think it's going to make it. But in case it doesn't, I better make it look good for the review, and then we'll see what happens with this thing. One little detail, look at this box. See this little angle? Right, so when you open a pen box, normally it just sits flat. The little detail, they just angle it just a touch, so when you open it, the pen just sort of presents itself to you. You can't see this through the TV. You don't get you're losing a dimension here. That's just like a nice little detail. They angle the box. First time I've seen it. So that told me right away, oh, they care. And do they ever? All sorts of details. When you get out the microscope, let's go through this. Got this little card in here that tells you about the ultra resin. And I read this because I'm like, what is ultra resin? So they tell you all about it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So this ultra resin somehow is a compound with mother of pearl in it, which I don't know how you do that, but is developed specifically in Florence for Pineider, and it makes it very rigid, very stiff. They say almost nearly like metal. A little bit of marketing words there. It's not going to be hard as metal, absolutely, but resistant to heat, very close to call it unbreakable. We'll see how close we get. Resistance to oils, inks, electricity. That's good to know. To high and low temperatures, UV rays, that's actually important, and to any weather conditioning, because they say it will set you free from the mess of a pen drop. And that isn't, it's not even a mess, it's ultra depressing. Again, another cool thing, at least for me, this is glueless technology. So to assemble this pen together, no glue on any of this stuff. He goes through it on that video, but it's all what you call press fit, which is also another term is interference fit. Now, I've talked about clearances a lot of the time. So how much room there is between two parts. Is it just lots of clearance, or is it like a super tight fit? Well, there's another type of fit where there really isn't clearance. It's interference. So the two parts actually have to get pressed into each other. And that's how this is put together. And you might wonder, well, wouldn't that damage the resin? What are you doing about stresses in here? How do you make sure they don't fall off if they're just press fit in? And there's some cool details. I'm going to get the microscope out to show you there as well. So to keep things a little more efficient, I'll put the physical dimensions up on the screen while I do the size comparison. First up, we have a Jinhao X750 followed by a Pilot Metropolitan. We got a Pilot Custom 823, which seems to be pretty close in size to the Avatar. Next up, we got the Visconti Rembrandt, followed by the Parker 51 Vintage, and rounding up the corner, we got a Pilot Vanishing Point. Now with the caps off, the X750, the Pilot Metropolitan are neck and neck. The 823 is just ahead, about 2 millimeters more as a Pineider Avatar, and the Rembrandt's about half a nib behind, only to be beaten by the Vintage Parker 51. And it seems that with the Decimo, once it extended its nib, gets ahead of the pack by about 2 millimeters. When it comes to weight, the pen weighs 27 grams, converter in but no ink, so add a gram for ink. And then the cap is holding about 10 grams. Overall, as a size comparison, I said the 823 is pretty close. This is 27 grams. This one's 30, fully inked. Now, before I get going any further, I failed to mention on the get-go, this was sent to me by Bleskit. So check out bleskit.com. Doodlebud22 saves you 10% if whether it's this pen or something else that catches your fancy. A big thank you for them for sending me this for review. I'm super excited about this pen. My first Pineider. Not only does it look stunning, it's got this really cool resin that's supposed to be mega tough. Let's get you some of these features in here. It has this beautiful clip. It almost looks like a wing or something like that. Really, really stylish. Classic. Like, the Italians know how to make a very pretty looking pen. But, is it high quality? Well, let me show you a few details. This spring clip is quite nice. If we can get the focus I'm looking for on here, you can see the cam profile. That's a little bit better there. You can see there's a little arm that sticks out, and that retains the spring right, and compresses it. So you have like this little cam profile. We got our pivot. So we have a pin that goes in there. It's tapered. So there's a thin end and a thicker end. So it's just going to go in only one way, which is quite nice. I'm curious if that's a straight bore or if it is tapered. That would be crazy if it was. I don't know if that is. But we got a taper fit to press it in there, so it's not going to back out on you. One little thing is just this little edge up here. It's not going to cut you, but it is a little bit pokey, a little bit of a crisp edge, if you can see that detail. Doesn't really bother me, but might bother you. But quite nice clip. And we got the center band on here. That's press fit on as well. We got the Pineider, and I think this is supposed to be like the Skyline. Maybe, I think it's in Florence. I can't remember off the top of my head. And there we go. Nice smooth body. Like slight little taper to it. And we got the finial here at the end, and you can see me behind the camera. There we go. So it is nice and shiny. We got the converter on the inside. Let's pop that off. It has this little ink level. There's no like volumetric, so those are random divisions. Whether that's useful or not, I don't know. But it's just at least a little thing on there. Worth trying something like that. So cartridge converter pen, and we got the section. Now this section is very unique. I think this was just for a small period of time they did this. The new ones now have a full metal section, so this is like a little silicone grippy action. But one thing I could probably see why they discontinued it, and I thought of this right away, is when you go to ink up the pen, you get some ink underneath here, right? Like this does move, so you can get some ink underneath there. So it does feel quite nice in the hand. I like the grippiness of it. It's kind of cool. But you do get ink or water underneath there when you're inking it or cleaning up your pen. Then we have the branded sort of logo there with the Pineider, and this one they sent me is a medium. It unscrews just like a normal nib housing does, and you can pop out the nib and feed from the housing unit. There we go. And number 6. One little thing, if you put it back together, wherever that is, here it is. So if you don't know already, you can see this little detail, right? So we have some extra material and a little notch here. So these are, directional. So your feed will go in the bottom. Those little ledges there are for the nib to fit in. So if you're having trouble, don't force it if it doesn't fit. If you happen to take the full pen apart, just make sure your orientation is correct so the feed will be underneath and the nib rests in those little edges. This little end cap does unscrew. So some parts are press fit on there, some are screw. That just pops on there. Now that's a nice little detail because if you can put some weight on here, if you're going to drop the pen, the weight's going to go down, and that'll take some of the force as well. It's curved. It's an arch, which is a very strong structure, so that's good. It distributes the impact, the force a little bit better as well. Now there are just a couple more details I want to show you before I ink it up right with it. We'll do some glamour shots and then on to the drop test to see how this holds up. But to really show those, you can see those little notches there, and then some of the, just the mechanical stuff going on with how this pen goes together. I'm going to bust out the microscope and show you that. I'm never one to miss an excuse to use a microscope. Here you can see that magnetic ring, but you can also see that little detail there. Wasn't sure if that was from the press fitment, if a little bit got snagged, but up close, how does that stay in here? So I paused it. It's got like these little tangs, almost like barbs. So if you press it in, it's going to stay in there and you cannot pull it out. It's a very clever little design about how these parts go together when you press fit and make them stay together. I found a tiny flaw though. There is a bubble, little air bulb you can see right there that was left over from the injection molding process. Had to point it out, you know me. But other than that, everything is really good. That press fit of that pin. Same thing for that band there on the main body of the pen. Has those same type of little features too. It's tough to get these angles for you, but this was interesting. At the end of the body, it's not totally flat. You have these little features here. It has a very thin wall on the inside, thicker on the outside, but it's got, just like a little scallop type thing that was removed. There's a little chunk that's not in the edge there. I'm not 100% sure why that's there. I have my theories, but I really don't understand. I can't say, conclusively why that's there. Inked it up with Diamine Sargasso C because this is a beautiful looking ink, especially on this Regalia paper. This pen is an absolute pleasure to write with. It's super comfortable. It writes really, really nice. and it has a nice little bounce to it. Not a flex, but has a bounce, and the wetness is absolutely phenomenal on here. Like, if you like a nice wet pen, I don't write with mediums much, so this is quite wet for me. Messed up my writing sample a little bit here, but you know, if you want to know how something works, see what makes it fail. Let's check it out. So what are my thoughts on this Pineider Avatar UR Ultra Resin demo in this amber sent to me by Bleskett? I really like this pen. Not like he only does this just looks absolutely stunning. No, I showed this to someone who's a non-pen person the other day, and they were blown away by that. They were just, wow, that's a nice looking pen, absolutely. But all the cool R&D and labor that went into making this special resin. Watch that Goulet video. They talk about the injection molding. They even show the mold. He got quite technical. So that, for me, was a blast to watch. But fit and finish, glueless, how everything's press fit. You know, it's got a nice springy clip to it. You can see it working the demo stuff. Like, I like that in a pen. I think they did a good job on this demo. Pricing is good right now. If you go to Bleskett, it's $175. There are other models too, obviously. So if you don't like this one, you can check out other ones too. And then you got 10% off. So it's like $158 Canadian. I think that's a very well price pen. The nib is very, very smooth. I use this Regalia. It writes like a normal medium nib, but I just did the Regalia because it looks great with this particular ink. The only dig I have, which doesn't exist anymore, is this silicone liner on the grip. It feels great in the hand, like it actually feels good, but just the whole ink getting underneath there. But the rest of the pens are metal sections anyways. So I'm really impressed. That's my only little thing, and that's already fixed. So to me, this is a super winner. It looks great. I have not had this dry out at all. There's a little seal, if I forgot to mention it, down on the bottom. There's a little how they do this, whoa, gonna lose the tripod. How they do this is there is a hole. He talks about it from the injection molding process at the very, very top of the cap. But before they assemble this, there's a little hole that's right down in there. If you can almost see it, if we can get you there. So there's a little hole, but they seal it with that as part of the assembly. So now the pen seals. This has not dried up on me once or hard started at all. So those are my thoughts. Let's get to the hopefully non-destructive test. I hope you appreciate. I had to do this at the end of the video. I'm not trying to bait you, but I have to do the full review. While the pen is for sure still in one piece, let's see how long that lasts. So here we are at the front of the house. Kids' shoes are there. Let's say you got the pen. It's in my suit pocket. I bend over and whoa. So you saw an impact there. It hit the top of the pen, which is what you want. Obviously it's going to splatter some ink. I don't see anything wrong. Let's try to drop it flat. Whoa, oh, that was solid. That's a clunk. Oh man. So far so good. Just lots of ink splatter. Let's try the back end. Okay. Oh, I hope you guys appreciate me doing this. And let's just get a little wild style points. All right, let's check that out. And I'll get you up close back at the desk here. And so far, this thing is pretty good. Whoa. I had to throw it. Okay, you know what? I'm impressed. Okay, so here we are. I chucked it around, threw it right onto the ground on purpose there at the end. And let's get you up close. I don't see any dings on there. Obviously, maybe if it was like asphalt, it would probably ding that a little bit, but nothing there. No cracks, no faults. None of the cap bands dented or popped off. There's no hairline, little cracks anywhere. Obviously, any pen, if you throw it around, ink's going to splatter out, but no crackage. And you can see you get some of that ink on the grip, maybe even underneath it. But anyways, yeah, all you would do now is if you chuck this pen around and it hit the ground, you don't have to worry about it breaking. You just clean it out and you're ready to go. Now, I got to tell you, after that, not only does this pen look good, it is tough. So I like this pen even more now. And before you get all upset at me chucking a pen around, I asked Bleskett, I said, hey, listen, they call this, it's ultra resin, it's mega tough. It won't break if you drop it. I got to test this. Like, let's check out the claim. They said, go for it. If it breaks, it breaks. If it doesn't, now we know. So I figured, since I got the pen to review, it wasn't out of my pocket, I might as well give this a try. I'm glad it survived because I really like it. It's a pretty pen and it writes wonderfully. My beloved Montblanc M series I picked up and restored. I do not expect that this pen would survive that test, and I'm not willing to chuck it around to find out. So that is really great. They went all out, for this price point. I think this is a stellar pen. Not only do they want to make it look good, they want it to be tough and they want it to work. They want it to seal, aesthetics, all that stuff. It's not going to come apart. Wow, this is a solid, literally a solid pen. So thanks for watching the video here. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Hit subscribe if you haven't, because doing that, you know, get some channel awareness so I can bring reviews to you like this and do these kind of tests. Thanks to Blesket for supplying it. Thanks to Pineider for caring and making a really good pen and, you know, making sure you got a good quality product, especially for this price point. This thing is wicked. So we'll leave it there for now. I got more stuff coming. We'll catch you next time.